Hi, and welcome back to the final day of the Augusta Video Sew-Along. In this lesson, we'll be hemming our garments. This is the same for the shirt and the dress, so there's only one set of instructions to follow here. So, let's stop talking and start sewing and get these Augustas finished up and ready to wear. For this lesson, you're going to need your almost finished shirt or dress. I'll be hemming the shirt in this video. And here you can see our unfinished hem. To begin, fold your garment wrong side out and lay it over your ironing board. We're going to just work with one half at a time, so I'm going to start with the back. The first thing you're going to do is turn up 1/4 of an inch along the raw edge of the split. You're going to really want to make sure that it's 1/4 inch, because if it's not, it will affect how your mitered corner works. So here we have 1/4. Then we're going to continue pressing up 1/4 of an inch around the hem. This is always easier to do on a full-size ironing board. So we now have the raw edge of the split and the hem turned up 1/4 of an inch. The next thing we're going to do is fold our shirt so these two turned up edges meet. I'm going to make sure they're perfectly aligned. And this angled raw edge meets as well. If these aren't turned up 1/4 of an inch exactly, or these don't meet properly, you're going to have a hard time getting the miter to work right. So double check that. Now we're going to head over to our machine and we're going to sew across this corner using a 1/4 inch seam allowance. All right, here we are at the machine, and again we're going to stitch using a 1/4 inch seam allowance along this raw edge. And make sure these edges stay aligned. Then head back over to the table. All right, we're now going to clip this edge, this corner. See that, hopefully? And we're going to press the seam allowance open. Now this is going to be hard to do. I am not going to do it on my finger. If you have a point press, it's a great time to use that. You can just slide the point right on there and give it a nice press. Now we're going to fold that point right side out. And now you can see the garment is sort of forced into a miter. So you want to make sure that you have 3/4 of an inch at either side. And press. continue working around the hem, pressing up 3/4 of an inch. And work your way over to the other corner. All right, now I'm going to do a little bit of troubleshooting for you on this corner. So say you didn't press things quite 1/4 of an inch, maybe things shifted while you were cutting, things aren't aligned right at the machine, and when you sew this and flip it, you're not getting 3/4 of an inch at either side. What you can do is fold and press over 3/4 of an inch. Lay that back out flat, and then do the same for the bottom edge. I'm getting caught there. There we go. Now you see you have this little point here, and on mine it's 1/4 of an inch in. But if yours is cut differently, it might be slightly different. Now this pin marks where my press point is. It's a little hard to see. But you'll fold these two edges together, match them. And you'll sew from that intersection, the press intersection point, out to the edge. So on mine it's still 1/4 of an inch, but if yours is slightly different, say, I don't know, say it's 3/8 of an inch because something was cut slightly off or shifted, you would sew from there over to the edge to get your miter. So I'm going to go sew this again and I'll be right back. Alright, so now I flipped this right side out and you can see we have 3/4 of an inch here and 3/4 of an inch here. So continue pressing over till you meet the other side. Alright, so now we need to do the same to the front. So go ahead and do that, and we'll pick up once that's done because all these steps are the same as we just did. Alright, once you have all 4 corners sewn up and everything is pressed, we're going to need to sew along the folded edge to anchor everything in place. This looks like it's a little off. Let me give that a... That's better. So I just like to pin in a few places. You're going to be turning corners here, so I like things to stay and not shift around as you sew. It's up to you if you want to pin the area between. It's pressed really well, so it should not move around much at your machine. So we are going to edge stitch right along here through, obviously, the folded hem to anchor it in place. So I like to start at the back, actually. You're gonna pivot when you get to the corner, come up, and then here I like to pivot up on an angle to follow this cut edge, come down around and go back over. So let's head over to the machine and we will do that now. Now, if you have an edge stitch foot, this is a great time to use one. I'm just gonna start sewing. Remove your pins as you get to them. And if you have any little threads hanging out like this, I just tuck them under so they're trapped in there. Now, since we have an edge stitch foot, we're going to make sure this edge goes underneath this little guide when you turn the corner. Lift up your foot if you need to. Rotate and continue sewing up the side split. Here is where we're going to pivot, and I'm going to sew a little more than just edge stitching on this since it's a raw edge. I've got my needle at about 1/4 inch. And again, snip her back down this side. One more stitch. There we go. Now again, make sure that edge goes underneath the guide. Pivot. Tuck any loose threads in. Here we have, I never took that out. One tack. There we go. Again, I want to sew this at around 1/4 inch. There we go. Pivoting at the seam line. Sew back down. One more stitch. clip these just to get them out of the way. Got one loose thread there. And just sew right back over. Back tack. And that's that. There's one final step, so let's head back over to the table to discuss that. All right, here you can see everything looks nice and flat from the back. Turn your garment right side out. And it looks great there too. So the last thing that we recommend is, because this is a stress point, we like to put a bar tack right here, just running right along here. It just helps with any stress you might put on it. It's less important with the top. The dress, I always put a tack here. So I will show you how to do that now. So for my bar tack, I select the zigzag stitch. My width is 2.7 and my length is 0.5. You can make your bar tack the stitch length narrower. I like to make it a little bit wider and then go back over it. I find that it moves through the machine better and I just get a better looking stitch. So I'll demo that really quick. All right, so here you can see this is what it looks like with just one pass. You can see it's not solid, but it moves through the machine really nicely. So what I do when making a bar tack, I'll do this on the spot. Do one pass, then I go in reverse, and then I go back. And there you can see it's a really nice looking bar tack. You didn't get stuck at any point because the stitch length was too short. I just find that really great. So let's put those on our shirts. All right, so I am going to run my bar tack up slightly from this split. And forwards. I'll show you what that looks like. Oops. There you can see we have, it's just slightly up from there. I don't like to put it too close because you can kind of get stuck in there and it can pull the fabric up a little bit. So this is where I like to put mine. And that will just help with any tension on your shirt. All right, so that is it. We are done for today, and that also wraps up the Augusta Sew-Along. We have our shirt and our dress. I know I'm going to really enjoy wearing these. I hope you've enjoyed this series and your resulting garment. I've had a lot of fun making these videos, and I'm excited to have these 2 new Augustas to wear myself. If you have any questions, let me know in the comments below, and make sure you subscribe to our channel so you don't miss any of our future video lessons. Have an excellent day, and thank you again for following along with us.